today as we walk through the changes which have been posted for public comment. We wanted to take this opportunity, though, to meet with all of you and have a one-on-one, essentially, to actually walk you through line by line the changes that were made. Some other housekeeping items. We have an updated agenda that I posted in the meeting chat. I also sent it to you all electronically via email just a second ago, so you should have gotten it. We will be recording this for anyone who wasn't able to attend today. And I think that's it for housekeeping items on my side. So welcome, everyone. And then Dave, did you have a few words?
Well, you took my words. I was going to welcome everyone and introduce you, but you've already done that. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. Again, sorry for the short notice, but we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. So we'll jump right into it.
Yes, I was going to say that too. Thank you very much. We appreciate your flexibility and popping in on this call, this Teams meeting, very short notice. So thank you. Thank you for leaning in. The other housekeeping item I want to talk about very quickly is if you haven't been out to review the changes that were posted for the public comment, I am going to put the link in the chat, just like I put the agenda in the chat. I'm going to put the link, and there will be a picture to a snippet that shows you kind of what the page looks like when you go out there. We are not going to be taking your comments or redlining or anything like that today. This is about walking through line by line, going through the changes made fiscally in regard to the Field Services Manual, but we need you all to follow the public comment protocol and make sure that you submit your comments via that mechanism. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, Barbie Flick is with us. She started the recording. So we are recording for, again, those who cannot attend or could not attend, and Barbie will also be capturing any notes from today's meeting. So if no one has any questions, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to Chris Ridge.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this sequentially from 1.1 to 7.1 to 8.1 and 8.2. So up here on the screen, hopefully you all can see it. I have 1.1 as a PDF copy of what's posted on the website. So the first things that we changed was all instances that referred to Kansas Department on Aging. We changed those to KDADS. And then the next thing we changed here is we removed the definition for carryover. That is no longer in this document because we are currently not doing that process. And then we added the intrastate funding formula definition. I'll scroll down to there. So we added this based off of the ACL definition for the interstate funding formula. And then the next thing we added for definition-wise was state unit on aging, which that's our official term for what KDADS is per ACL. So I have that definition added here based off the ACL definition. And then the last thing that we changed on 1.1 is we removed unawarded funds and replaced it with unbudgeted funds because we're working more from a budget than the old NGA process. Okay, that's all the changes we made on 1.1.
So
As
I'm
far
going to
as-
hop in 1.1. That went really fast, right? So don't get your hopes up that everything's going to go quite that fast because we have a lot going on in the other sections. But at this point in time, I want to talk about 1.1 with a little bit of a wrap up. Chris went through it relatively quickly. Does anybody have any questions?
Stacy, I have a quick question. I have both the old version and the new version in front of me here. I was looking through, and I noticed on the new version, like everything after the unbudgeted funds is not on the definitions. So, because on mine, I go on after the unawarded, it has unearned, then the UAI, unliquidated, volunteer contributions, volunteer service. Should those still be in there? Or did all of those get removed as well?
those would still be in there as well. This is just
Okay.
for this section.
On mine, that's showing under the general definitions that it's still part of section 1.1 of what's currently on the field service manual.
So
We may
Chris,
have
go ahead.
we may have to keep our eyes open for that when we submit the final version.
That was my question as well. It looks like there's about 9 of them that were removed.
So Chris, is that a cut and paste with this, or were they actually removed?
It'd be a cut and paste.
Okay, so Barbie, can you please document that so that we remember to go back and make sure that those are replaced? Thank you very much to both people who brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is why another set of eyes is so important. Thank you so much. Barbie, you got it?
Yes, Stacy, I have it.
Perfect. Okay, any other comments or questions about 1.1? All right, hearing none, just a gentle reminder to everyone to please mute, just so there's no background interference. Thank you. All right, Chris.
Okay, so this is probably going to be the longest one. So this is 7.1, which is our area plans and budget. So first thing that we changed was the table of contents. We updated 7.14 to budget and budget revisions. It was previously named area plan revisions. So we updated that to reflect that this is more on the budget side. And then we also removed 7.1.6, which is the unearned funds section pertaining to the older carryover process. And then another thing we did was we added SUA terminology on here. Okay, and so the first thing we changed in the body was 7.1.1 on public hearings. We added a comment period language here for our 30-day calendar day. And then the next thing that we updated was on B here. We specified this as in business days so that there's a full business week on doing it. And then let's see. On point C here, we updated the notices to include websites, social media, and email distribution lists, as well as putting in business days. Okay. And then on D, we clarify details on public hearings as far as the documentation needed to note that that public hearing has actually happened. Okay. Next part is adequate proportion. So I have a note that we changed 39% as far as the formatting goes, but that's not really a substantial change. C, we didn't have any changes to C. D, we added language for the triple A's for exemptions to adequate proportion on Title E adequate proportion. That takes care of 7.1.2. The next part is direct service waivers. So on B, we changed that to, we added language specifying the transmittal letter shall be emailed to the SUA, or also known as KDADS. That's what we changed there. And then on C, waiver determination. So on that, we went ahead and we added the secretary designee can also approve this. Prior, it just said the secretary could approve it. And we also put in other language stating that program also has weigh-in on this as well. Okay. And then that takes care of 7.13. 7.14. We had budget and budget revisions, updated title. Oh, 7.1.4, we updated this to budget and budget revisions. Prior, it referred to the area plan process. Mainly, we changed this just to make sure that we're referring to the budget here rather than the area plan. And then on A, we said that we added and updated budget development terms and impacts. So this section got updated as far as like what impacts may happen for not submitting a budget, and then also like the development piece. B, we changed this to allocation monitoring. So KDADS is going to be tracking how money was spent based off the allocation rather than the budget as well. Okay. And then on C, we added language on the transfers. We also added capital expenditures and direct service waivers. Another thing we added was there's now transfers allowable in B. Prior to COVID, we didn't really do any transfers on B. That's just another thing to be aware of. And then on D, we added language to hopefully make it easier on the AAAs and KDADs by requesting to consolidate budget revisions so that we can reduce administrative burden to both parties. E is we added language saying that match still needs to be met on the budget, and we wouldn't approve any budget revisions that don't have match on them or appropriate match. F is we added language to clarify budgets need to be approved before they can be used. Okay. G, we added budget revisions and have an outline of changes. So this is basically saying what include. So this is basically what types of things that you changed in your budget. It's basically, we would like a summary of what you changed on your budget. I think we normally do that in email right now. That won't be necessarily new to anybody. Okay, next thing. H, we added the attachment language here for each budget revision that specifically describes an item that was updated on the revision. We have, you can submit it either email, Word document, or Excel. And then on I, we changed this. Previously, this had the 20% language, but now it is based off of categories rather than line items. And this is going to be 10% to align more with our other contracts. Okay. Next one is 7.1.5 for the intra-state funding formula. So prior to this change, we had it detailed of how the IFF is actually calculated. The problem with having it in the field service manual is that formula changes every 10 years or whenever we make a IFF funding change. So now there's just a note saying that this refers to the state plan on aging, which the IFF does show how the state plan will show how the IFF is calculated. And that covers it for 7.1. I know I went a little quickly.
All right, I'm gonna hop in 7.1 right off. I know this is all very fresh, and I know it's asking you a lot to have comment right this second, and you certainly do not have to, but definitely remember, and I've posted in the comments for the meeting, the location of where the public comments are located, where you can see them, where you can take them and review them in greater detail, and how to submit your comments. So don't feel like this is it. This is your only chance. This is just a special little preview or a little walkthrough just for the AAAs, because we wanted you to be able to hear from us the reasons why and the changes that were made specifically.
Jennifer, you had a question?
Yes, I'm interested in knowing, will there be a version that's made available that has the changes notated or highlighted to easily identify where those changes are located?
It's as it's posted right now out on the public comment site. It does not, there's not a red line version. It's the version that we're presenting right now.
Okay,
That's
thank
why
you.
we're walking through it line by line.
Thank you.
Any other questions on 7.1?
And just to recap, if we get to the end and you're like, dang it, I cannot remember what we talked about in 7.1.1 or whichever the section may be, please ask and we'll walk back through it. We have 2 whole hours. If you want our attention for 2 whole hours, we're yours.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Okay, 8.1. The first thing that we changed here is the table of contents. So 8.1.4, that now references reimbursement instead of advancing. And then we removed 8.1 and 8.9, 8.1.8 and 8.1.9 as those sections were removed. And then we changed instances. We added instances to refer to the SUA language per what ACL refers to us as. Okay, so the first thing that we actually changed was 8.1.3. So notification of grant award information. So we updated the language in A to reflect that we have an allocation that we work from now based off the IFF rather than it being just on a budget like the old NGA process. B, we did not make any changes to B. C, we changed language referring to budget allocation and we changed advanced language to reimbursement here on C. And then on D, we updated that so that it doesn't refer to carryover or the sequential NGA documents, which it listed previously. And then we removed E and F. Okay, and then 8.1.4, we added reimbursement language and removed advanced language on A. And then on B, we changed information to be based off of financial reports. C, we changed information to refer to reimbursements and added a 30-day prompt payment act that KDADS is required to do. So this is basically once an approved invoice is sent to us, we're required to pay it within 30 days per the Kansas Prompt Payment Act. Okay, and then in D, we added reimbursement language to this bullet point. And then 8.1.5, interest earned. So we changed this whole section to refer to the ACL final rule, which talks about the $500 of interest on federal awards. So we updated this section just to refer to that exact language that's in the final rule. Okay. Financial management, 8.1.6. Receipts on 1. We added language on income should be recorded as the same source it was earned. So that's basically match shall be earned and reported as it came in. Number 2 is receipts must be reported on a cash basis basically that means like when it was actually received and paid. So that kind of clarifies that. And then on number 3, we removed previous language and added language regarding not allowing means testing on match. And that is based off of the final rule. So that refers here to point number 7. Okay. And then we didn't change anything on C and D. Oh, C. Yeah. C. Okay. Next part. 8.1.6 continued. B for grant expenses. So 1 through 3 were unchanged. And then on 4, we added program development and coordination limitations based off of what's in the OAA final rule. And we removed old practices. So that's referring to we need the admin spent first before Title B program development and coordination can be spent. Okay. Number 5, we removed the 20% line item rule on that. Number 6 is unchanged. And then we removed carryover language that was previously on 7, which isn't there anymore. Okay. And then we also added about the audit process and yep, we added the audit process language here on 6 as well. Okay, the next part is transfer language. So we added Title B to this section because we can now do transfers between Title B and C now. So we thought that should be updated. We added language here about written justifications and reasons on transfers as needed by ACL prior to completing the transfer. We're required to send in a formal letter to ACL when we do those transfers, and so that helps us make sure that the transfers get approved. That refers to this section here. Okay. And then we added the OAA calendar language to point number 3. Okay. Next part is D for priority services. Number 1 was left unchanged. Number 2, we added language regarding adequate proportion and corrective action if adequate proportion is not done within a 2-year period. Number 3, we added language requiring minimum amount spent on rural areas, and we did that because we're required to do that per ACL. Okay. And then E, we removed the carryover language. We added the reallocation language. And then we changed unearned to reallocation to reflect current practices. Okay. And then the next thing that we changed is going to be here in 8.1.7. We changed instances of KDOA to SUA. We, on A2, we changed the final financial report to be due November 15th. Previously, it was due in December, and that caused a large administrative burden on KDADS regarding the SPR, the state programmatic report that's due in January. And then we removed point number 3 that was on here. Section B was left unchanged. Section C was left unchanged. D, we added the November 15th for the final financial report. And then on E, we removed E and F and revised language to be an approved format per KDADS and changed deadlines. Okay. F, all we did was take out a reference to another part of the field service manual, but other than that, it's left unchanged. G, we added extension language, and we added email as a source to request extensions and waivers. And then we removed H, but replaced it with new language and added the business day clarification for deadline. So that's a little bit more clear. And then that looks like that's it for 8.1.
All right, I'm going to hop in again and say, does anybody have any questions at this time?
Chris, Caitlin had kind of went through and highlighted a lot of the changes for us, and it looks like enforcement action was removed, appeals was removed, and what was the other one here? And the other big one was ending cash balances was removed too. And our question, kind of was too, is that we think that's a really important piece so we know how to handle cash balances. And I don't know if you realize those were not in there anymore, if it was a copy and paste issue again.
I think it was a copy and paste, but we should probably make sure that we're all on the same side about the ending cash balances and appeals process.
So just
Okay,
to
so
pipe just to pipe in on this really quick. So all this internal work was done on the KDAD side with program and FISC, and all these iterations have been gone through, and we tried to do our very best. And then we sent them to legal for their review. And so then there were comments back from legal, and we did our best to incorporate all the comments and answer all the questions. So I apologize that there's probably definitely some cut and paste errors. And that's why, again, it's so important to have the fresh set of eyes. So Chris, do we want to take this back and look at it and then respond with some sort of written communication back to this group?
Yep.
Okay, that's what we will do. Is that good with everyone? Thank you for pointing that out again.
Specifically, this was referring to some financial terms. I want to make sure I know what we're getting back on. Michelle, you mentioned several terms that were no longer in there. And they
That's-
were,
That's correct. And if it would be easier, I can just send you the document that Caitlin had worked on. That might be easiest because she's got it in red, what was removed.
Okay.
Could you do you have it online in red, or is it like a true strike through on a piece of paper?
No, it's online. She went through and typed it in there and highlighted. So
Okay,
we
could you
can
do a
send that.
snippet of that section and put it in the chat? That way everyone can see what the question is, and that way everybody has the same
Oh,
information.
sure.
That would be great. That would be perfect. Thank you. That way we all have everything. It's all transparent. We all know what we're talking about. Thank you.
Clarification, and again, I haven't read through all of these, so this is a little bit, just fresh initial take. So for the final financial report, so if we submit it by November 15th, and then we need to make edits, or we need to do a revised report, then that's where that 8.1.7 AD comes into effect of being able to revise the final report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there no, okay. And then I also had a question on, just to clarify, is there any opportunities to be able to do advances, or is everything strictly reimbursement?
Ideally, we're trying to move towards reimbursement. However, it probably determines on leadership's approach of maybe advancing state funds. It would have to be up to their judgment, though. We're trying to make sure that we're not advancing federal funds because we're not supposed to do that.
So I think the
ACL.
direction is, like Chris said, we're not, from a federal government standpoint, we're not supposed to be advancing. I think if there's a one-off situation that you should definitely approach whomever, right, in KDADS, whether it be Dave or whoever the commissioner is, or if it's on the FISC side. I'm not 100% what that would look like, but I think we would look at them as a one-off. We
Okay,
have to follow the federal guidelines.
thank you.
That's a great question, by the way.
Okay, and on the November 15th deadline, what would happen? I can promise you none of our AAAs have our audits done by November 15th. So they're really, truly not final reports. What if the auditors change something or consider something unallowable expenditure after reports have been submitted as final reports to KDADS? How do you plan to handle that?
I don't think we have an exact answer. So if you could drop that in the chat, I think we need to get back to you with an exact answer because I don't want to speculate. That's a great question too.
Okay, I think I'll have a lot of public comments, so I'll just include that in the public comment.
That would be perfect. Thank you. That is perfection. That's exactly, that way we can document everything and make sure we get back to people with everything. Great question.
Anything else with 8.1? Okay, I guess I'll go on to 8.2. So this
So,
is
Chris,
go
sorry,
ahead.
one quick thing here. I know several months ago, we had a little bit of discussion about the program development and coordination,
Yep.
and the admin. Can you go into just a little bit more, or kind of remind me a little bit more? So it's once 10% of admin has been spent, then we can use the coordination and program development.
Yep, the admin has to be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just was clarifying, is 10% of the admin is spent and then those can be used, or 100% of admin is spent?
It'd be 100% of admin. It'd be our 10% for our admin. And that might be good to kind of clarify in language, but essentially on Title B for program coordination and development, we have to have the admin spent first before we can do that per the final rule.
I have a question on to tag onto that. So 100% of the admin, so where does the 10% come in? Is that 10% of our total award?
Yep, 10% of the total award.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions. I'm glad we're recording so we can get back to this too. All right, Chris, 8.2.2 or 8.2. Sorry, I got a little excited and added an extra 2.
Yep, so this will probably be pretty short. This is just going over signature authority, basically who's allowed to sign documents. So we added reliable evidence for SUA signatures. We also added language regarding staff turnover, such as if somebody leaves the AAA or if they get a new person at the AAA, that we have notice of that, of who will be allowed to sign on your documents. We also stated that it shall be notarized as well. With an affidavit of a chairperson of the governing body or resolution. And then we also added that these shall be good for 1 year. Authorization remains in effect for 1 year. And then we also put in some language of what the signature authority would cover, such as like applications, plans, reports, budget revisions, amendments, so on and so forth. And that's pretty much it on 8.2.
All right, I'm going to do what I've been doing. Any comments or questions for 8.2?
Do we know why it was changed to 1 year that it's good for? Because a lot of our board positions are valid for 2-year terms.
I'm not 100% sure why it was 1 year.
So did we make that change, Chris, on our side from a directive that was given from the feds?
I don't know where the 1 year came from, but I know we changed it on our side.
Lisa, Cody, Dave, anyone have insight into that? If not, then we need to check on it.
My understanding was that it was supposed to be yearly, but it was not in the field service manual, so we updated it to make sure that it did say that we needed that yearly.
Who was the directive from? Oh,
That was
Lisa,
program.
okay, so it was an internal. So I think we need
Yes.
to take this one away, Barbie, and let's get some clarification on it. We'll get back to everybody. Because I want to give you a good, strong answer. Anything else for 8.2? All right.
So that takes care of all the documents. Does anyone have any questions over this or previous items? We have another hour and 14 minutes to go over questions if needed.
Woo! But we don't want to use that hour and 14 minutes just for keeping people on the line. So if you have anything specific to the things that we just went over that we haven't captured already in either a question or an answer that we've already provided, please let us know.
So
When is
I
our
have a
plan-
question.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, back to what we were just talking about with the authority to sign. So when we submitted our plan just recently, we had our board chairman sign a delegation of authority to our director to sign for any revisions over the next 4 years. So is that what you were referring to in this, talking about that there was 1 year? Something was good for 1 year.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question, and we should probably add that. I mean, to make sure we get the clarity before we give you an answer. I want to make sure
Okay,
we give you a good answer.
That's what you're clarifying.
Because
Okay,
I don't
just wanted-
know. I don't know
Okay.
for sure, and I don't want to speculate. I want us to do our research on our side and get you the right answer.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
No, that's perfect. Little bit of switch on the back end of that, so we'll make sure we capture the whole thing. Thank you. And then somebody else spoke up.
First of all, can I didn't capture this question because I didn't understand it well enough. So help me, get this written down. What
So
you just
Barbie,
asked.
it's about a
Thank you.
time frame. It's about the 1 year time frame that's been inserted in this section. And there was conversation about this was a program decision. And so we're going to go back and we're going to look at this. So essentially the topic is the 1 year time frame in 8.2.
Of the signatures.
Just go ahead
Because I
and
don't-
capture it. Go ahead and
Yeah.
capture it that way.
Okay,
and we'll get-
I already had that. Okay, all right, thank you.
And then the caveat was, well, they already had somebody that signed one. And if I'm saying this incorrectly to the person who had the comment, please correct me. They already had somebody sign one, and I think there was a delegated authority for 4 years. And does that still apply? Does that apply across the board, or what are all the caveats to this? Did I say that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. Yep. So that's our question. And then Sharon, are you the one that spoke up earlier? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that the current manual already says on or before May 1st of each year, so this is already what current policy is, so I'm not sure, yeah, why it's currently an issue, and this has always been policy to submit it by May 1st. I just wanted to also just note real quick for KDADS that policy 9.2 in section 9 is also the same signature authority. So if you change it in 8, may want to check 9.
Thank you. Thank you very much for noting that. All right, I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody else have anything?
I guess another clarification on the signature piece. If there was no change, can we resubmit what had already been approved the prior year? Like if that documentation states it's valid for 2 years, we can just resubmit it, or does it need to be a new notarized document for that year?
We will put that also as part of this to come back to you with. Great question. I don't know. Thank you.
And
All
sorry,
right.
one more question. On section 7.1.4 H on the budget revision. I know like we generally say, something more generalized of, meeting the needs of the services or based on usage. Are you saying you're wanting like a line item update for that change? So I think normally it's in our transmittal letter, just a generalized what's changing.
Yeah, this is based off of what's changing that describes each line item that was updated. I don't know if you have lots of line items that can be summarized so that it won't be so cumbersome to document. But I think we're just looking for a summary of what's changed and what to look for.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon?
Would that essentially then, I think what she was trying to say, is that document essentially then just the transmittal letter since it specifies each of the summer, like what's changed and why?
Yeah.
Would it be better instead of saying an attachment to just have that specify it's the transmittal letter since it's the same thing?
I think we should take that back and let us chat about that and we'll let you know. That's great feedback.
Another question on like 7.1, 8.1, and 8.2, KDADS was changed to SUA, which makes sense. It's in case KDADS changes the name again. But on 1.1, everything is still KDADS. So I didn't know if there was a reason why 1.1 was KDADS and everything else was SUA.
We had a little bit of going back and forth. 1.1 is the most recent change. And I think on that document, we said KDADS, although I would think it would probably be good if we were consistent to maybe update that to SUA as well.
Program is currently going through the rest of the document and they're going to make changes on 1.1 other than what we've added. And so I believe they're going to look into that once they change their portion of the document.
But that change, those changes, those revisions, that review, that's happening outside of this. It's not part of
Correct.
the fiscal section. I just want to be clear, the things that we've gone over today. So to Lisa's point, yes, there's going to be a deep dive into the entire document for consistency and all of those things. But since we did make changes to 1.1, I mean, I agree with you. It makes sense that we should have it be SUA, but I don't know if that's the consensus of the team. So let us take that back. That's a great point. Thank you.
Is there anything within the revisions or otherwise that kind of addresses, especially now that the all the funding is reimbursement and is happening with the report? If we have changes to our report, I know that's been something that's come up at different times. Sometimes KDAD's able to do like a JV to just show that change. Sometimes we've had to send checks back. And maybe that's not something that should be part of the field service manual, but I was just curious if that's addressed in here in any way.
It would probably depend on the exact circumstances of the changes. We are only allowed to do JVs during the state fiscal year for the same state fiscal year. Otherwise, there may be another process needed, and we may not have written like a written standard SOP, standard operating procedure on those types of things.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, not hearing anything else. I think we're going to end an hour early, but we have some very good information, very good feedback, very good questions that we will follow back up with this group specifically on. And we will let you know if there are changes to any of the documents that we, or if we update for public comment. That way everybody knows. And again, we're transparent. All communication is above board. Everybody knows what we're doing. Thank you all so much again for leaning in and making this meeting possible. We very much appreciate the short notice, and we appreciate everything that you do every day. Dave, do you have anything to close for us?
No, you summed it up fine. Thank you all, and we look forward to hearing back from you.
And again, in the comments or in the chat, I put the link to the public comment, and I put a little picture out there too, just so you can kind of see the 1.1, I mean, all the sections. So, and then the agenda, I sent the updated agenda again via email. And then I also did a snippet in the chat. So you should have all of those things. And then for state staff, I would like to meet right after this. So I will set something up. And we can start working on some of these things.
And also, I'm pretty sure everyone's aware, but maybe not. Those of you that are external, you will not have access to this chat once we close the meeting. So if there's anything you want to copy off the chat now, do that.
Very good point. Thank you.
Before we close the meeting.
Very good point. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great Tuesday.
Thank you.
Great
And
job,
help-
Chris. Great job.
Thank you.